The moment you stop caring about everything is the moment you begin reclaiming yourself. Most people spend their lives trapped inside invisible prisons built from opinions, expectations, fears, and endless overthinking. They wake up already exhausted because their minds never truly rest. Every word someone says becomes a wound. Every rejection becomes a personal attack. Every delay becomes proof that life is against them. And slowly, without realizing it, they hand over control of their peace to strangers who never even think about them twice. But the Stoics understood something powerful long before the modern world drowned in noise. They understood that suffering often begins not in reality, but in interpretation. The world itself is not destroying you. Your attachment to every little thing is. Your desperate need to control outcomes, people, and perceptions is what drains your spirit. And once you finally understand this, your entire life changes. Because peace does not come from controlling the world. Peace comes from controlling your response to it. If you've been carrying emotional weight for too long, if your mind feels tired from constantly thinking, worrying, replaying, and reacting, then this message is for you. And before we go deeper, subscribe to the channel and join a community of people rebuilding themselves through discipline, clarity, and stoic wisdom. Because the strongest version of you is still waiting beneath all the noise. There is a silent power that appears when you stop needing everyone to understand you. Most pain comes from expectation. You expect loyalty from people who only know convenience. You expect honesty from those who lie to themselves daily. You expect appreciation from people too distracted to value anything. And every expectation becomes another opportunity for disappointment. The Stoics warned about this centuries ago. They taught that attachment to external validation creates emotional slavery. Think about how much of your life has been controlled by what others think. You hesitate before speaking because you fear judgment. You stay in unhealthy situations because you fear loneliness. You overexplain yourself because you fear misunderstanding. You chase approval from people who are not even at peace with themselves. And while you keep trying to be accepted, you slowly abandon your own mind. Care less. Not because nothing matters, but because most things do not deserve your emotional energy. There is a difference between compassion and emotional dependency. A difference between love and attachment. A difference between responsibility and obsession. Once you learn that difference, your life becomes lighter. The truth is, overthinking is not intelligence. It is often fear wearing the mask of preparation. You replay conversations not because it changes anything, but because you hope you can control what already happened. You imagine worst-case scenarios because your mind believes anxiety can somehow protect you from pain. But it cannot. It only steals the present moment, while promising safety it never delivers. A Stoic mind understands that clarity is born from simplicity. The more you think about things outside your control, the weaker your inner state becomes. Every minute spent obsessing over another person's opinion is a minute stolen from your own growth. Every sleepless night spent analyzing betrayal is energy wasted on people who already moved on. Stop sacrificing your peace for situations that do not deserve your soul. There is freedom in emotional detachment. Not coldness. Not cruelty. Freedom. The ability to observe without collapsing emotionally. The ability to walk away without needing revenge. The ability to lose without losing yourself. Most people cannot do this because they are addicted to emotional chaos. They think intensity equals meaning. They think suffering proves love. They think anxiety proves responsibility. But often, it only proves lack of control. The Stoics believe that discipline is stronger than emotion. Your feelings are temporary storms. They change every hour, every day, every season. But principles remain stable. A disciplined person does not wake up controlled by mood. They wake up guided by purpose. And purpose becomes stronger when you stop allowing every distraction to pull your attention away from what matters. Some people will disrespect you simply because they sense your kindness. Some will manipulate your empathy because they know you care deeply. Some will only call you when they need something. And the painful part is that your heart keeps trying to understand them. You keep searching for reasons. You keep hoping they will change. But wisdom begins the moment you accept people for who they repeatedly show themselves to be. Stop chasing closure from people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop waiting for apologies from those who lack self-awareness. Stop begging for honesty from people who survive through deception. Sometimes silence is your closure. Distance is your answer. Detachment is your healing. One of the greatest powers you can develop is the ability to remain calm while others lose control. In a world addicted to reaction, calmness becomes rare strength. Anyone can explode emotionally. Anyone can scream, panic, blame, and overreact. But staying composed when life becomes difficult, that is mastery. The Stoics trained themselves to expect difficulty. Not because they were pessimists, but because preparation creates resilience. Modern people collapse emotionally because they expect life to always go smoothly. The moment discomfort appears, they feel betrayed by reality. But suffering has always been part of existence. Rejection, failure, loneliness, betrayal, uncertainty. These are not signs that life is unfair. They are part of being human. Once you accept this, your mind stops resisting reality so aggressively. And resistance is what creates so much unnecessary suffering. You cannot control whether people leave. You cannot control whether opportunities disappear. You cannot control whether others appreciate you. But you can control your response. You can control your mindset. You can control whether pain becomes wisdom or bitterness. Some of the strongest people in history were not physically powerful. They were emotionally disciplined. They understood that a calm mind sees clearly while an emotional mind destroys itself. When anger controls you, you say things you regret. When fear controls you, you abandon opportunities. When attachment controls you, you tolerate disrespect. Emotional control is not suppression. It is intelligent direction. Most people are mentally exhausted because they are emotionally available to everything. Every message changes their mood. Every opinion changes their confidence. Every inconvenience ruins their day. They absorb the energy of everyone around them until they no longer recognize themselves. But a Stoic protects their inner state carefully. They do not allow chaos unlimited access to their peace. Imagine waking up without immediately checking who texted you. Imagine going through a day without needing validation from social media. Imagine being rejected without questioning your worth. Imagine hearing criticism without emotionally collapsing. That level of freedom exists, but only when you stop attaching your identity to external things. Your mind becomes dangerous when it learns stillness. Because stillness destroys illusion. In silence, you begin noticing how much energy you wasted trying to impress people who never cared deeply. You realize how often you betrayed your own peace to avoid disappointing others. You see how fear controlled your decisions for years. And at first, this realization hurts. But eventually it becomes liberation. Care less about being liked. Most people do not even like themselves. Care less about proving your value. Real value never needs desperate advertisement. Care less about winning every argument. Peace is more valuable than ego. Care less about temporary opinions from temporary people. There are battles not worth fighting. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every conflict deserves your attention. The mature mind understands that silence can be power. Walking away can be victory. Protecting your peace can be wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that people act according to their nature. Ignorant people behave ignorantly. Angry people spread anger. Dishonest people create deception. Once you understand this, you stop taking everything personally. You stop expecting roses from empty soil. One of the most painful truths in life is realizing that some people only love what you do for them, not who you are. And when you stop overgiving, they disappear. At first, this feels heartbreaking. But eventually, you realize they were never truly loyal to begin with. The loss of fake connection is not tragedy. It is clarity. The world teaches you to constantly seek more attention, more approval, more emotional stimulation. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. It teaches inner sufficiency. The ability to stand alone without feeling incomplete. The ability to enjoy solitude without loneliness. The ability to remain stable without constant reassurance. A peaceful mind is built through daily discipline. You do not become emotionally strong overnight. You become strong through repeated choices. Choosing silence over pointless argument. Choosing reflection over impulsive reaction. Choosing purpose over distraction. Choosing acceptance over resistance. And yes, there will still be difficult days. Days when loneliness feels heavy. Days when memories return unexpectedly. Days when anxiety whispers old fears into your mind. But strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is remaining grounded despite struggle. The Stoics practiced negative visualization. They imagined losing things they loved, not to become depressed, but to become grateful and resilient. Because when you accept impermanence, fear loses its grip on you. You stop clinging so desperately. You stop panicking over change. You understand that everything in life is temporary, including pain itself. Think about how much suffering comes from trying to freeze life into permanence. You want relationships to never change. You want success to always remain. You want happiness without difficulty. But life moves constantly. Seasons change. People evolve. Circumstances shift. Fighting this truth only creates more suffering. Control what you can. Release what you cannot. This simple principle can save your mental health. You cannot control how others see you. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control the past. But you can control your habits, your reactions, your effort, your character. The strongest people are often the quietest because they no longer feel the need to prove themselves constantly. Insecurity is loud. Desperation is loud. Ego is loud. But confidence moves differently. Confidence observes more than it reacts. It listens more than it argues. It remains calm because it is not trying to convince the world of its value. Your peace becomes expensive once you realize how hard it is to rebuild after chaos destroys it. You stop giving everyone access to your emotions. You stop entertaining negativity endlessly. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. You become selective with your energy. Some people will call this coldness. It is not coldness. It is maturity. Emotional maturity means understanding that your mental state matters. It means recognizing that constantly carrying other people's drama weakens your spirit. It means realizing that empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. There is incredible strength in becoming emotionally independent. Not emotionally numb. Independent. The ability to comfort yourself without constantly seeking rescue. The ability to validate yourself without begging for approval. The ability to stand alone without collapsing internally. Most people are terrified of solitude because silence forces confrontation with themselves. Distraction becomes their escape. Noise becomes their addiction. But solitude is where transformation begins. In silence, you hear your real thoughts. In solitude, you rediscover your values. In stillness, you meet yourself again. You cannot think clearly in constant emotional chaos. That is why caring less matters. Caring less about trivial opinions. Caring less about temporary discomfort. Caring less about things beyond your influence. The less emotional clutter in your mind, the more control you gain over your life. Imagine the power of becoming unshakable. Not because life becomes easy, but because your inner state becomes stable. People may betray you, but you remain grounded. Situations may change, but you remain focused. Criticism may come, but you remain calm. This is real strength. Many people spend years trying to control others while completely failing to control themselves. They obsess over changing people's behavior while ignoring their own emotional instability. But Stoicism teaches that self-mastery is the highest form of power. Because once you control yourself, the world loses much of its ability to disturb you. Your thoughts shape your emotional reality. If you constantly feed your mind fear, comparison, resentment, and anxiety, your spirit becomes heavy. But when you train your mind toward discipline, gratitude, resilience, and perspective, your emotional world changes. Most things are not as serious as your anxious mind makes them appear. Most fears never happen. Most opinions fade quickly. Most embarrassment is forgotten. Most rejection redirects you towards something better. But overthinking magnifies everything until small problems feel catastrophic. The Stoics understood the importance of perspective. A delayed opportunity is not the end of your life. A failed relationship is not proof that you are unworthy. A difficult season is not permanent defeat. Everything changes. Pain changes. Circumstances change. You change. Sometimes your greatest growth comes from losing what you thought you needed. Because loss reveals dependence. And once dependence is exposed, healing can begin. You realize you survived things you once thought would destroy you. You realize your strength was always deeper than your fear. Stop romanticizing suffering. Pain alone does not make you wise. Reflection does. Growth does. Discipline does. Some people suffer for years without evolving because they never change their thinking. They stay attached to victimhood. They stay addicted to blame. But Stoicism calls you toward responsibility. You cannot always choose what happens to you. But you can choose whether pain becomes poison or fuel. Every difficult experience can either harden your bitterness or sharpen your wisdom. The decision belongs to you. The world becomes less frightening when you stop trying to control every outcome. Uncertainty is part of life. You may lose people. Plans may fail. Opportunities may disappear. But worrying endlessly changes nothing. It only weakens your present strength. Care less about perfection. Perfectionism is often disguised fear. Fear of failure. Fear of criticism. Fear of inadequacy. But progress matters more than perfection. A disciplined, imperfect person will always outperform a fearful perfectionist trapped inside endless hesitation. Some people waste their entire lives emotionally reacting instead of intentionally living. Every mood becomes a command. Every emotion becomes an identity. But emotions are temporary signals, not permanent truths. You do not need to obey every feeling that enters your mind. There is peace in realizing that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves explanations. Not everyone deserves your emotional availability. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries protect your ability to remain mentally healthy. The Stoic path is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming emotionally intelligent. Feeling deeply without drowning. Caring wisely without attachment. Loving fully without losing yourself. You become stronger when you stop needing immediate emotional comfort. Modern society trains people to escape discomfort instantly. Endless scrolling, endless entertainment, endless distraction. But resilience is built through endurance. Through sitting with discomfort without collapsing. Discipline is freedom. This sounds contradictory until you experience it. A disciplined mind is not controlled by impulses. A disciplined life is not destroyed by temporary emotion. The more self-control you develop, the less chaos controls you. Your future depends heavily on what you repeatedly allow into your mind. Constant negativity weakens your spirit. Constant comparison destroys gratitude. Constant outrage drains your focus. Protect your attention carefully because attention shapes identity. There are people who will misunderstand your silence because they are addicted to drama. Let them misunderstand. Not every false perception requires correction. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. One day you will realize how much energy you wasted trying to explain yourself to people determined not to understand you. And you will laugh softly at how heavy you once allowed life to feel. Because maturity eventually teaches you that peace is more valuable than being right. The calmest people are often those who suffered enough to understand what truly matters. They no longer panic over every inconvenience. They no longer chase meaningless validation. They no longer sacrifice their inner state for temporary approval. Your mind can become either your prison or your sanctuary. The difference depends on what you feed it daily. Feed it fear, and it becomes a cage. Feed it wisdom, and it becomes strength. Every day, ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth my peace? Most things are not. Most arguments are not. Most opinions are not. Most drama is not. Protecting your peace is not weakness. It is intelligent living. The Stoics believed death itself should inspire clarity. Not fear clarity. Because when you remember life is temporary, you stop wasting energy on meaningless battles. You stop delaying your purpose. You stop carrying resentment endlessly. Mortality reminds you to focus on what truly matters. And what truly matters is not endless approval, not status, not winning every social battle. What matters is character, integrity, discipline, inner peace, the ability to look at yourself honestly and know you remained grounded despite life's storms. You do not need to control everyone around you to feel powerful. Real power is controlling your own reactions. Real power is remaining calm when others try to provoke you. Real power is walking away from chaos without needing revenge. Some people will never appreciate your growth because your growth exposes their stagnation. Let them go. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Some people only feel comfortable with the version of you they could control. As you grow emotionally stronger, your circle may become smaller. This is normal. Depth often replaces quantity. Peace replaces performance. Authenticity replaces approval seeking. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of emotional discipline. A calmer version. A clearer version. A stronger version. But you cannot reach that version while remaining addicted to overthinking, emotional chaos, and external validation. So breathe deeply and remember this: you have survived every difficult chapter before this one. Every heartbreak. Every disappointment. Every sleepless night. Every betrayal. You survived it all. Which means you are stronger than the anxious voice inside your head keeps claiming. Care less about temporary things. Think less about things outside your control. Control more within yourself. This is the Stoic path. Quiet strength. Deep clarity. Unshakable discipline. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe to the channel and continue this journey with us. Because the world does not need more distracted minds. It needs stronger souls.